Oh my gosh. Hi, guys. Okay, so I am finally back with the review with a YFA, Young, Famous, and African. Like, I don't even. It's been so long since I've been able to film a review that I don't even know what I say anymore, etc., etc. But either way, I'm back. I wanted to make sure that I completed the season and I did my finale review. So I'm really not going to take too long for real with this intro. But um hey, I am Ava Lamore Ra. That is my moniker. I do reviews of Young, Famous, and African. If you see me looking over to the left, it's because I like to take notes so that I can remember what I want to say about the review. So while I'm watching it, I take my notes and stuff. And we are now on the finale episode, season 1, episode 7. And if you want to know why YFA is in season 3 and I am reviewing season 1, then watch my very first video where I explain. But anyways, I'm not going to take too much longer than that and just get into this review. So, and of course, as I say that and I'm trying to get into the review, okay, here we go. All right, so it's the last episode of the season, and we open with like what I would describe as a sultry scene with Diamond. Diamond is laid up on his bed. His chest is showing, so he is like bare from like the waist up. He's got his pecs pert, you know. I was just like, what is this scene right now? But anyways, he is on a speakerphone call. Sorry for the notification. He is on a speakerphone call with Nadia. So he's just telling her, well, he's kind of like telling us and her, like us as the viewer and her, that he's finally back from traveling because, he's Diamond Platinums. He's like a huge recording star. So he has just been touring and he's just catching up with Nadia and explaining why he's been like so non-communicative, right? And so Nadia is telling him, effectively she's reporting Zari to Diamond and she's telling him how Zari has been hectic, causing drama. And Diamond's like, oh yeah? Really? Because he's surprised, like Nadia is telling him about all this drama with Zari, but then she like immediately follows that up with she doesn't feel like it's her story or her place to tell him what's been going on, which was just like, okay, so then why did you even bring it up? Like, that's curious, but okay, girl. So then we skip forward to another scene. So now we have Kaylee and Naked. They're getting ready to meet up with Zandy. And so Kaylee says, who's Zandy? Because this is what Naked says to Kaylee. And he says it's Zari and Andile, which was like Naked played, okay? Naked played with that. And so, Andile and Zari, they join the table and they embrace each other. And when, like, Zari and Andile are, like, pretty flirtatious in this embrace. Like, it's prolonged, And I'll just be perfectly honest with you. Maybe actually I'll reserve my comment, but I just was just like, okay, that was a long, lingering hug. That was very flirty, but all right. And so Kaylee and Naked are kind of like, what is this? Like, okay, y'all are a thing. And Zari is just like, I think she says this in her confessional, but she says that she wonders why no one had any curiosity about Nadia and Diamond. And I will say, I kind of see a bit more of Zari's vibe in this moment because she's effectively all for equality, So she's basically saying, like, it was cool when Diamond did it, but it's not cool when she does it because why? Because she's a woman? Is that why? Like, explain it to her slowly. So, and I put in my notes that she's low-key a feminist, but then again, not quite, because she did make that dress length shade to Annie. I think that was back in, like, episode 2 or 3, the Arabian Nights episode. So yeah, but anyways, so I'm so sorry because like I'm reading through my notes, I'm catching. Okay. So before they can even get into the train and like what happened with the train, with Zari's train trip, we now jump to a scene where Kanye is meeting up with Nadia. And so they get into the train. And so Kanye throws a little slight shade about Zari's idea about trying to do the train because like Zari basically was motivated to do the sleeper train. I believe that's what it's like, a train where you go on a train and you can, it's a vacation on a train. Like you can sleep on the train, you can eat dinner. Like she had a whole party on the train. And so anyways, Kanye was just like, yeah, you know, she wanted to do this train thing because it was a big thing in the 80s. And I was like, okay, that was shade. And so she's just basically telling Nadia, so she started with a toast, and, you know, she calls the toast again, like the Tears of Caesar, which I love. I think that's so cute. And so Kanye says that Zari said, I'd like to thank you for coming on my train. And first of all, you already know that Nadia ate that all the way up. And so Nadia clarifies, which good for her, because she asked, okay, was she insinuating it was her train, as in she owns it, or was she referring to it as her trip? And Kanye says her train, her trip. And she didn't say that. Like, Zari did not say, thank you for coming on my train, so that's inaccurate. And then I'm still left to ask the exact same question I asked in my episode 6 review, which was, why is that in particular an issue? Like, what is the issue with her toasting to an event she's hosting? And I really want to understand, because I feel like it'll kind of, because, you know, I think I've said this in most of my reviews, but you always have to keep in mind that what we as the viewer are seeing is like the final cut, basically, you know? So like all this footage has been filmed, all of these storyboards have probably been created, all of these like scripts have been rehearsed and stuff, and so we don't know what arrangements really revolved around like the train trip coming to be and Zari hosting it and like what that actually entailed. So I feel like it could give a little bit more context as to why like there was so much friction about it, but because I just feel like I'm missing something. Like there was a lot of drama about the train trip and her claiming it. So we jump back to Kaylee, Quentin, and Zandy. And so Kaylee is asking like, what is the issue that everyone has with Zari? And now, mind you, you have to remember that Nadia and Andile didn't go on the train. So that's why they're being filled in their respective, like, meetups, right? And so Zari, in her confessional, clocks it, basically. She says she is the problem. They feel her energy, and that's the problem. And I feel like she's basically saying, like, she is confident, and her presence is, like, very big, I guess, and that makes people feel uncomfortable. And so, you know, Zari is breaking it down for Andile and Kaylee, and, you know, she's sharing her perspective, and they're, like, kind of going back and forth. So they're not really saying anything new, but because, you know, they're just filling Andile in. And so we get back to Kanye and Nadia. And so now we get into some real serious shade. Well, actually, no. The shade hasn't happened yet. Okay, so Nadia says in her confessional that if you get Swanky, the most zen guy to snap, because if you remember in episode 6, Swanky was very upset by this whole friction with the group, then, you know, that's a problem. So she's basically saying that the fact that Zari could cause all this drama and get Swanky out of character is really a testament to like how messy she is, I guess. And you know, I just feel like sometimes I'm always, well, not sometimes I'm always, sometimes I am taken aback by people's biases and their like perceptions of situations and the bias of their perception. Because I don't see Swanky as a Zen person. He doesn't read Zen to me. So I'm just like, Zen? Like, okay. And I mean, maybe Zen wasn't the correct word. Like, maybe positive. Because I feel like Zen and positive are like, so I'm just like, maybe that just wasn't the right, maybe that wasn't the actual meaning she was going for. And because I feel like Zen people don't participate in drama, and in my opinion, Swanky has been in the drama throughout the season. So and I mean, drama is part of human life and interactions. So I'm not faulting him for it. I'm not judging him for it, because like I think I mentioned in the episode where Andile had two of his mothers of his kids and Zari all at the same party, that even with him being the most suave of them all, in my opinion, of the men at least, he seems to be Zen, but then he's still with that drama, right? That's just human nature for the most part. So I don't know, like, I know that's like not a big deal, but something about it was just like, what does that mean that she made Swanky jump out of his character? I mean, I did not find that very compelling as to how Zari is just such a problem. So Nadia complains that she's upset that Kanye doesn't choose violence, because basically when she was giving her speech and saying, thank you for coming on my train, according to Kanye, she's telling the story to Nadia. Nadia is saying she wishes that Kanye would choose violence, and that she should have snatched her wig off and physically assaulted Zari. And I'm just like, Nadia, what? Are you okay? Like, girl, huh? Okay. That was strange to me. And so now, Kanye mentions they're planning a bachelorette party for Annie. And quick question for the audience. A bachelorette party for a vow renewal is customary? I'm not being shady. I'm asking a genuine question. Because, like, what kind of bachelorette is this? Like, you're married. But, okay. I mean, now I don't know all the ins and outs of bachelorette festivities. So, but I'm just curious. But anyways, either way, now they're debating whether Zari is invited, when it's clear that Zari is the scapegoat. She's the pariah. She's the outsider they like to pick on, in my opinion. So I feel like between the three of them, and I'm talking about Annie, Nadia, and Kanye, I feel like she's obviously not welcome. So I'm just like, okay. Like, just don't invite her, but okay. And so Nadia now says that, she can't be around Zari because she's quick to slap a bee. And I just feel like, again, Nadia, this is extra aggressive, Like, beautiful girl, pretty girl, cute hair, nice outfits, but there is, like, the anger towards Zari is just stressful for me. It's like, girl, what is this? Like, where is this vitriol towards her coming from? What did she do to you? Because, like, you want to slap Zari? She's on a short fuse with you. That's what she says. And then I'm just kind of like taken aback by Kanye's response to Nadia insinuating that if she is around Zari, she will want to slap her, because Nadia says she never liked Zari's vibe from the beginning. And Kanye replies, I know, vibes don't lie. Okay, Kanye. So y'all, okay. All right. Anyways. Okay. So now we have a next scene. Annie and Swanky have pulled up to a jet, and Annie's kids are arriving in South Africa with Two-Face, for the vow renewal. So they're about to go check venues. Annie's always excited to see her kids, which is really sweet. She's just explaining that, Olivia wasn't present for their first wedding and how excited they are. Like, the kids are so excited about it, which is really cute. And, Annie's just feeling happy. She's just reflecting on her life, her family, this like wedding ceremony that's coming up. So it's sweet. But not much happened in this scene. Kind of was a filler scene to me. So now we flip to Baba's bachelor party. So it's at a race course with like some beautiful Benzes. I'm a Benz girl, like through and through. I love me a Benz. So I did enjoy this scene, like just being able to see like all of the beautiful cars and stuff. And it's all of the guys minus Diamond. And I mean, it was a fun scene, but again, to me, just another filler scene, like not much happened, but it was fun. And so now we get to the bachelorette party. And so Kanye is in her confessional and she's talking about how, this event is an opportunity to bring people together since it couldn't happen on the train. And I was like, okay. So Kaylee arrives first and, she receives a warm welcome from Kanye, which I made a note of because if you remember from the train, it was Team Zari, which was Kaylee, Naked, and Zari, and Kanye was pretty peeved with Naked, her brother, and Kaylee, her sister-in-law, I guess. This is apple juice, by the way. Being on Team Zari. And so I was just like, okay, they're cool. And so Kanye mentions that, she hasn't seen her or anyone since the train. And now, Kaylee, Miss Set It Off, that is my nickname for her, says, oh, no, no, I've seen some of y'all, namely Zari and Andale, since the train. Now, when she says this shocks and surprises Kanye, because Kanye's like, really? You seen Zari and Andale together, and Kaylee's just like, yeah, they're weirdly good. And so now, Kaylee's getting into like the tea on Zandy, and as she's about to start relaying the tea to Kanye, Zari is walking in. And I was just like, wow, this timing is crazy. And this is where you have to wonder about like production and like what kind of communication is going on behind the back for them to kind of like orchestrate these scenes, or if they're organic. Because I was just like, the exact moment that Kaylee is about to spill the tea on Zandy to Kanye, Zari walks in. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Kaylee seems relatively unassuming. She's one of my favorites. I love the entire cast, to be honest, but she is a fave just because I feel like she does her job of keeping the plot moving, and she shows you why she is on this show and why she's getting paid for every episode, because not only is she moving the plot along, she's also giving you her relationship, so she's doing her job. So I really enjoy scenes with Kaylee and just her character on this show. So Zari walks into the bachelorette party, and I stand corrected because I didn't think she was going to be invited, but she was. So I was just like, okay, interesting. That's nice. I'm glad that they still included her. And she's apprehensive to be there because of the tension, and she just wants it to be fun and not a rundown of the train. So now we have an entrance scene because Annie is walking into her party, and she is just talking about in her confessional how she hopes that the party will be beautiful and just a good time. And so when Annie walks in, Zari embraces her, and Annie embraces her as well. And it seems like a genuine embrace between the both of them. So I was like, okay, this is good, like it seems like good vibes. Like Annie's there, Kaylee's there, Kanye's there, Zari's there, and everybody seems to be good. Yes, there's a little slight awkwardness, but okay, cool. So then now we have Nadia showing up, and she greets Zari. So I was just like, all right, great. But, I've heard everything that Nadia has said about Zari, so I'm like, I just feel like she just can't genuinely be happy to see Zari, but at least she's being cordial. And so all the ladies are in the room now, and it is awkward. word. Like, they are quiet, they're kind of silent, but Kanye breaks the ice and she instructs them to all get naked. So I was like, ooh, what's about to happen? Like, what? But what they actually do is change into pajamas, customized pajamas that Kanye got for them. And so this is about to kind of be like a sleepover type bachelorette party, which I think is really sweet and cute. And she basically tells them, you know, I have a surprise for you. And she gifts them drips. And so my understanding of these drips, so like, you know, the IV bags like that you get in the hospital, but I know it's become like all the rage for you to get those IV bags. Like, you can go to a clinic to do them, or like a spa place, I think. I don't know all the details, but I know you can also have them come to your house. And like, these drips, they have like vitamins in them. So that's what she gifted the girls. So that's their activity that they're going to do during the bachelorette party. So they all get hooked up. And so, you know, everybody's chilling. Like, they're getting their drip lines and, you know, they're chilling. And then Nadia asked how the train ride was, as if she hadn't gotten the whole story from Kanye. And I was just like, girl. And so Kaylee asked, is this really the right time to bring this up? But Kanye's with it. And so they get into it. And so Kanye says, well, it was Zari's fault. And she still hasn't apologized. And Zari is keeping it cool because Zari's just not really saying anything. And so Kanye is like kind of patronizing Zari because she's just like, you know, you need to apologize and like, let me again teach you how we treat each other. And so she's kind of talking down to Zari, in my opinion. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's so blatantly obvious to me that they are intimidated by Zari, because it just feels like this need to cut her down to size, to just like put her in her place. And I don't really understand it. And so Zari is basically just like, she does speak up and she's just like, apologize for what? Like, what did I do? And Nadia says that Zari can't dismiss Kanye's feelings. And we cut to her confessional. This is Nadia's confessional. And she said that Zari reminds her of her mom. Now, she's saying all of this, like, you know, like jokingly. She's just like, you know, Zari reminds me of my mom. You know, she was just like, you know, those old heads who are so stuck in their way because they walked through the trenches back in the day. And this particular scene, this particular confessional with Nadia, I just was shaking my head because I just think it is so incredibly insulting to demean someone because of their age. And in the sense that it's just like, I don't really see what the problem is with Zari. Like, I feel like it's not like she's doing anything. If she was doing something to hurt them, now, I mean, obviously, perception is your reality, so I understand that. But from my view as the viewer, right, it doesn't really seem like she's doing anything to them. So to start like age shaming her, I don't know. I feel like it kind of kills me when women go after each other based on age specifically, because we're all going to age, you know? So it kind of comes off as like intimidation that at her age, that Zari's age, she's so confident, which is sad, because I just feel like that is something that we as women should admire, because I admire older women who are beautiful and thriving, because it gives me something to aspire to. And I don't feel competition from young women or older women, because time is a continuum. So, like, let's just be real. With every passing minute, you're aging, you know? Like, that's just life. So, I just don't think that age shaming someone is necessary, but I don't know. I just thought that was kind of like low and kind of just like catty. So Nadia has the nerve to say to Zari, in my opinion, I don't want to not like you without knowing you. But I'm like, Nadia, you don't like her. You don't like her and you don't know her. And so Zari clocks it correctly, in my opinion, in her confessional that Nadia is a follower. That's effectively what she says. Because she says, Nadia hears from Kanye, we have a problem. So Nadia responds, what is the problem? And when the response is, Zari is the problem, Nadia is like, okay, are we fighting? And if the answer is yes, she's like, okay. But she has no other basis than following, the fight to have a reason to fight Zari. Because Zari was just like, what are you fighting me for? Like, what did I actually do to you? Do you know what you're fighting me for? And so now Nadia asks, now we're back in the party. Nadia asks Zari, do you want to be friends with us? Do you really want to be friends with us? And for me, I felt like that was a strange question to ask because it sounds like Nadia is asking two questions at once. It sounds like on the one hand, she's asking for a validation from Zari to confirm that she wants their friendship. And then it's like she's also asking Zari to beg for their friendship at the same time. It's so strange. And now I'll be honest with you, Zari threw her head back and laughed when Nadia asked her if she really wants to be friends with them. And I was just like, okay, that was quite provocative. Like, I would not have laughed right in this lady's face when she asked me if I really want to be friends with them. But I can understand, like, from Zari's perspective, you have Nadia and Kanye, like, telling the story. You have Kanye telling the story and Nadia egging her on, basically. So, she's getting double time by the two of them. So, she probably was over it. But before Zari can even answer, Mr. Positive, Swanky, busts in the room to deliver a surprise. And it's Annie's friend, Tania Omotayo. And so now you have Tania and Swanky. And Tania is what I would describe as mixed company. Mixed company in the sense that she's Annie's friend, but she's not part of the friend group. Now, this is important to me because Nadia shares with Swanky and Tania that there was an issue with Zari. I don't know if Zari and Tania know each other, but I just thought that was a really strange thing to do. And so she says to the both of them that there was an issue with Zari and she had to address it. And both Kanye and Nadia say that Zari is still being mean. And I just felt like Zari wasn't saying anything, So they're just like, so Nadia tells them like, oh yeah, we had a problem with her, but she's still being mean. And I just felt like they're bullying this woman. And I just feel like because Zari is so confident, it's so easy to dismiss the way they're treating her. And, it could all just be lighting, like lighting, production. But it is uncomfortable to watch because they're telling Tania and Swanky, but Tania, the mixed company in my opinion, because why would they have to be telling Swanky that he knows her? So they're telling Tania that she doesn't listen. They're calling her out her name because Kanye says she's being a dick. And I was like, that's not nice. And so now Annie chimes in and she says that every time Zari is around, it's been a negative experience. And I just think it's messed up, because I just feel like, why did y'all invite her? Because now it's 3 against 1. And Annie makes it clear in that moment that despite the fact that Zari is present for her bachelorette party and just put all her differences aside, as usual, she tells the whole party in that moment that Zari is not invited to the vow renewal. And I don't know, I just felt like in that moment, that was just so nasty, so rude. I just thought that was just so, I don't know. It's just, I feel like I've said also that sometimes when you watch these shows, it's so interesting to me to see relationship dynamics play out And that's like, whether it's romantic or platonic or group relationships, and to just watch them like single Zari out in a room of 7 people and like talk down to her, embarrass her, and then disinvite her all at the same token. Like, I just really felt for her in that moment. And to be honest, she looked uncomfortable. Like, as always, Zari was chilling. She's cool as a fan. That's just who she is. But she did say to them that whether or not she's invited, it won't make her or break her. And I felt like, good for you, Zari. I'm glad that you at least said that, because I feel like they want you to beg them for some reason. I don't know what they want you to beg them for. Like, I don't know. I don't know what offense you have committed that has them wanting you to beg them for their acceptance. But and like, I'm not dismissing any of the things that Zari has done throughout the season, but I feel like she hasn't done anything that she hasn't apologized for. And in this particular instance, I feel like they want her to apologize, but for what? Like, I don't think she did anything. So I don't know. So now we cut to a dinner scene with Annie and her family. And so it is her. So we close out the bachelorette party. We are at this dinner with Annie, Tubaba, her friends, Swanky and Tania, her children. And she's just talking about how, like, this is so relaxed, how she's so happy. And as she is talking to the group about, how excited she is for this next chapter, and that she's looking forward to another 10 years, she says, I'm looking forward to another 10 years, but this time with Tubaba being faithful and not cheating. She specifically says being faithful and not cheating. And you know what? I was just like, this is the exact same thing she did during the proposal announcement to the group, where she kind of just made it awkward. And like, I'm not gonna lie, okay? I'm glad that Annie is willing to check Tubaba. And so she's not like, sorry, let me turn this down. She's willing to check Tubaba in the sense that she's willing to like not sugarcoat like the issues they have. Like, yeah, I respect that. But I also feel like in front of your children, because it's like her friends are there, her daughters are there. So it's like Tubaba by himself. So it's like your whole crew against him, and obviously the kids aren't part of that crew. But I don't know, I was like, oh, it's kind of awkward. And then I feel like Isabella, which is their oldest daughter, I feel like she was clearly disturbed by this, because she starts deflecting from the cheating comment, because she was like, cheating what is that? Like, she's just doing her best. She's a kid. And I don't know, I've said that I'm not a huge fan of these shows when they have children on them. But, that's a personal choice. So, now it's wedding day. And so the couple is getting ready for, we closed that scene. So it's wedding day. The couple's getting ready for the ceremony. And so Andile has gone to meet with Two-Face. And Two-Face is expressing that he is nervous. And we find out that Andile is going to be the minister of the wedding ceremony, which is interesting to me, because I'm like, okay, that's your, okay, all right, cool. But, he's just expressing how he's nervous as well, because, he wants it to be perfect for his friend Annie, which is super cute. And so now we go to check on the bride, and Annie is expressing similar nervousness when her friend Tania checks on her. And I did say that, I don't know if you guys have heard that there's this like, I don't know how you would describe it, but they do say that like when you find out that people are doing a vow renewal, that it's like kind of a sign of the end. And I'm starting to see why people say that, because I just feel like, how can two people who are married already, have been married for 10 years, together for 19, feel nervous about recommitting to each other? Like, I'm not even trying to be funny because I just feel like I feel like if anything, you should be the most excited. Is that just me? Because I was just like, I don't know if this is for the show. Like, I don't know if you guys are like nervous for the show, like, or are y'all really nervous? But it seemed like they were really nervous. And so then we find out from Tania, that she is just feeling for Annie because neither of their families, so neither Two Face's family or Annie's family, could make it to their vow renewal. And specifically the mothers, because both of their fathers have passed, so neither of the mothers could make it, which I did find a little bit interesting, but I didn't want to read too much into that because, it could be age, who knows? Like, there's so many factors that could influence that. But in the absence of her mom, Tania wants to pray for her friend, which I thought was a beautiful gesture of friendship. And, she just prayed for her friend, and Annie was very moved by that prayer. And it definitely made me a little emotional too, because, I love my friends. So I just thought it was so sweet. And so now we are getting into the ceremony, and Naked and Kaylee are showing up to the ceremony. And so they show up in traditional Nigerian attire, and I gotta tell you, I loved it. Okay, Naked and Kaylee shut it down. Okay, Naked looked so handsome in his agbada and his fila. Like, he just looked so good. I think he even had I was like, do he have some coral beads? He just looked good. He looked very, very nice. He did that. And Kaylee, oh my God. Okay. All right. Anyway, so let's just continue. So Nadia shows up. She looks gorgeous. She's wearing this purple gown. Kanye shows up with her man, Kudzi. Oh my goodness, I could not remember his name. And so, after we've done their little entrances, we see Kaylee and Nadia, and they are having a side conversation. And so I just want to mention again, because I did make a note of this, that Nadia looked beautiful in her gown. She had this one shoulder, long sleeve gown that was purple. She had a half up, half down hair look that was just really pretty. Her earrings, her glam was great. And then Kaylee, she looked beautiful in her Ankara dress. She just really, she did that. And, Kaylee is just expressing the FOMO she's feeling because she's starting to feel like she wants to get married. And I want that for her, because Kaylee is a pot stirrer in the show, but she's a sweetheart as well. She is really sweet, and she just seems so kind and tenderhearted. So I was like, oh, Kaylee, I really want that for you. And so they're talking about the ceremony, and Nadia is sharing how she's happy that, Annie and Two-Face are renewing their vows, but she's not really so sure about, the status of their relationship, and because Annie only ever talks about Zari, and I was just like, fancy that. I mean, yeah, because Zari has this whole season of YFA on her back, okay? She has carried it from the moment she stepped foot. I mean, she might have, I can't even remember if she was mentioned before. She might have been, actually, before episode 3, because I think that's when she appeared. But yeah, she's been a hot topic ever since. And so Nadia is curious about whether Zari will crash the wedding since Diamond is coming. So she's wondering, will Diamond bring her, or will she come? So basically, will she come with the father of her kids? And I was just like, Nadia, what is it to you, love? What is it to you? And so Nadia admits that she feels like the Bachelorette was a bit of a gang up fest, and it was. I appreciate her being able to reflect on that, because look, sorry, 1 second. People are complex, so that's fair enough. I'm so sorry. One moment. People are complex, and so I think, sometimes you might do something in the moment because you're fueled by emotions, and then take a step back and be like, dang, that the right thing to do. And so, I appreciate her being able to reflect. And Kaylee agreed, that it was weird and that she felt bad for Zari. But she felt bad for Zari and she didn't speak up for her. But I'm not going to do too much with Kaylee because I know it's hard to support people sometimes and, leave yourself exposed. So I get it. Like, we can all say what we would want to do and we can all try our best. So I'm not going to judge too hard, but, she didn't speak up. So, and so despite taking that step back, Nadia wanted Kaylee to agree that Zari is dramatic. And I did appreciate that Kaylee was just like, nah, she's not the only one who is dramatic, Nadia. And not because Nadia had said that, like, oh, well, she's glad that Zari wasn't invited because if she came, she would be the drama. And Kaylee was basically saying, yeah, it would be drama. And so Nadia was just like, so you admit she's dramatic? And Kaylee was like, no, like, she's not the only one who is drama in this situation. And so, I don't know. I just didn't really understand why Nadia would expect Zari to be so desperate to show up somewhere she clearly was uninvited to and not welcome. But okay, so now we jump to a side conversation with Naked and Kanye. And, Naked is just sharing with Kanye about, his support of her relationship with Kudzi. And then Kanye is asking how Kaylee and Naked are doing and, just sharing that she was really happy to see them so, like, hugged up and lovey-dovey on the train and to see them doing well. And, I just have to say, once again, I really loved what Kanye did by, like, setting up that therapy situation, that couples therapy situation with Kaylee and Naked, because it's a beautiful thing to see featured in a reality show when couples will go to couples therapy and do that work to strengthen their relationship. And I also think that it's a positive thing to be featured in a reality show about Africans where therapy is still stigmatized in the Black community as a whole. So I'm just really glad to see this this theme in the show. So now we are getting into the actual ceremony itself. And so Andile is walking up to the podium to take his spot to officiate the wedding. And as he's walking up, they're all teasing him about how they can't believe that the biggest HO is the officiant. And, I have said time and time again that Andile is an attractive man, okay? Like, so I could see how he could be perceived that way. I could. So we're getting into the actual ceremony itself. So Two-Face is being accompanied by his daughter Isabella, the oldest daughter, down the aisle. And, in his confessional, he's just talking about what's going through his head and how as he's walking down the aisle, all that's going through his mind is all the positive times. And I'm not going to lie, I laughed out loud because I was just like, how convenient, Two-Face. As the perpetual offender in this relationship, how convenient to be reflecting on the positive times. But I do get what he means, like you wouldn't want to be thinking about the bad times as you're getting ready to say I do again. So I understand, but I will be honest, I bust out laughing when he said that. Because I was just like, get down the aisle, be quiet, just move. Let's get to Annie. And so now Annie is making her way down the aisle. So she has this like over the top, like super floofy, like poofy dress. And, she has a crown on, which I really love. I love when she dons the crown. So she's reflecting on their relationship in her confessional. And the way that she is describing her connection with Two-Face, it really in a lot of ways sounds like a best friendship. And while she was sharing their experiences it made me think of, well, I don't know if I want to get too personal, but I feel like I just understand that it's a hard thing to separate in your mind when the person you love, like who you can stay up all night with until the sun rises, and y'all watch the sunrise together, and you do everything together. Like, this is your best friend. She says they've traveled to so many countries together, and they've just done everything together. And I can understand how it's so hard to separate in your mind how, like, this person who is your best friend is also, like, betraying you, So, I don't know. I feel like I could see how it could be very hard to wrap your mind around that, because in a lot of ways it kind of sounds like being with two different people. So now we get into the ceremony because Annie has gotten to the podium. So Andale delivers a beautiful message about the different types of shoes you wear in a relationship. He talks about like how they've had to put on like their combat boots, to go to war when things were bad. They've had to put on their slippers when it's time to just like when Annie was pregnant and they were getting ready to have their babies, and it was a time to kind of just slow down. They had to wear their dress shoes when like things were good, and like they go to award shows. And I really thought that was like a beautiful analogy. I loved that message. So Two-Face shares his vows. He talks about how much he loves Annie, and he's just speaking from the heart. And then Annie, she shares her vows, which she's written down, and she shares that she wants to grow old with him. And she does say that she wants to grow old with him because she's not sure she can live or breathe without Two-Face. And that kind of was like a way, but I get it in concept, but I was just like, okay. And she affirms to him that despite what they go through, she will still love him. And they exchange rings and they kiss, and it's cute. It was a cute ceremony. And so now we're getting into the reception. And so now it's reception time. And the reception begins with a dinner. And so Kanye is standing up and she's giving a speech, uninterrupted, might I add. Okay? She's getting the respect and attention that was not given to Zari. And, I don't know. I just felt like the speech kind of felt, I could be reaching, but I felt like the speech was kind of a dig at Zari in a way, because like she was talking about friendship, but one of the friend group members isn't there. So, okay. And so, during this scene, Adile is now in his confessional, and so he's talking about how he's missing Zari. And I also noticed from the group dinner that Diamond isn't there. And so Nadia asked Andile, like, why does it matter that Zari is not there? And he says, because she's our friend, Nadia. And before I knew anything, I said, if I had to guess, I feel like Zari is with Diamond or Diamond is with Zari. But, anyways, after the speech is completed, Andile goes to call Zari and check on her during the party. And he's just telling her how he misses her, but he's going to see her very soon. And so now we cut to a scene to find out what Zari is doing. And so she's at home with her children, and she's just like, in comfy clothes, looking cute, but cute and comfy. And Diamond shows up, and he just basically is talking about how his flight was delayed. And so that's partially why he didn't go to the wedding, because once he arrived, his first priority was to go see his kids. And so Zari's just like, wait, like, what? Like, I really wish you would have gone, because now it's going to seem like I told you not to go. And to be honest, I kind of felt like low-key he chose not to go from the moment that Nadia reported him in that opening scene, because I just felt like when Nadia was reporting Zari to Diamond about the drama, he just seemed genuinely puzzled. And he was sharing how, like, that this is not the Zari he knows. So I felt like he was like, I'm going to kind of distance myself from this. I don't know. But that was just kind of the vibe I got from like that very first, well, when I put them together. So Zari is basically just filling him in on like the drama and like what's been going on. So she's telling Diamond how, she knows Innocent, and we find out specifically in the finale, because I can't remember. I feel like this is the first time that they say how specifically she knows Innocent. It's from the O Awards, which I'm not familiar with. So if you know what the O Awards are, I would love to know what it is, or I can just do my Google, of course, for the channel O Awards. And so Diamond's just sharing how, like, in his confessional, he's so surprised, and how he doesn't want to be in the middle. And so and Zari is now saying, Babati, she calls him Babati, which I love, which I just think is so cute. But she says, me, like, I'm a target. People always pick on me. And she's just sharing how Kanye has begun to pick on her. And she's just been trying to, like, kind of assert her ownership of the friend group. And Zari is just confused because she's just like, I thought Kanye and I were friends. And so Diamond, in his confessional, is just like, all of this is basically news to him. Like, he's really shocked and surprised, and that he wants to hear the other side. And so we jump back to the vow renewal because there's a one-on-one scene with Naked and Swanky, and so they're talking and patching it up because from the train ride in episode 6, they were going at each other's heads basically. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, one thing I really love about these reality shows is the ability for there to be conflict and a resolution. I think it is a great model for life. Obviously, life is not perfect, but I think it is something to at least strive for when possible. And then, Swanky asks Naked if he's ready to get married, and Naked says no. I think he says no. I'm pretty sure he said no. So now, back in the actual ceremony itself, Two-Face is singing a song he wrote for Annie, and Annie is incredibly touched by it. Like, Annie melts whenever Two-Face even looks in her direction, which I think is cute. He definitely turns her into, like, a schoolgirl with, like, a crush, So now the ceremony is over, and Kanye and Annie are having a heart-to-heart about how, they kind of started with hate and now they're close, which is sweet. So, I always love a girl's girl moment, a friendship moment between friends. And now we are getting to the final scene. And so we're back at the ranch with Zari and Diamond. And on delay, so Diamond's still at the house. He's come to see his children, and so he has offered to put them to bed. So he has gone upstairs with his kids, his 2 children, and he is getting ready to read them a story. And there's a knock, knock, knock at the door, and it's Andile. And so Zari's just like, wait, what? Wait, whoa, what are you doing here? Because she's just like, why would he come unannounced, basically? And if you remember from the phone call at the ceremony, Andile said that he would see Zari very soon. But I guess she didn't understand that he meant, I'm going to come see you after this ceremony. So for her, he's showing up unannounced. And so they're standing in the foyer, Zari and Andile, and Diamond comes down the stairs, and he sees Andile, his bro, and he's excited. And so, now, in this moment, this whole scene, I'm going to just say this right now. Africans invented acting, okay? Okay, obviously I'm being facetious. But I'm just saying, like, this was just so Nollywood. And I know they're not Nigerian, but this was so Nollywood coded to me. Because I was just like, this scene feels so scripted. But it also doesn't feel scripted. Because, like, Diamond was genuinely excited to see Andile. And so he's like, what are you doing here? Because he's thinking that Andile came to see Diamond. And he's like, how did he know I was here? Like, my bro knew I was here. He came to greet me. That's awesome. He had the mother of my children's house. So he's not putting 2 and 2 together. He's just like, oh, this is awesome. And so he's just like, hey, bro, like, what are you doing here? Like, he is excited. And Andile is like, oh, I came here to see Zari. And Diamond almost had to do a double take because he was like, you came here to see who? Now, Zari was like, you came here to see who? Why would you say that? Now, she didn't say that, but that was her reaction. Her reaction was just like, now, why would you say that? Of all the things you could have said, why would you say you came to see me because you're doing too much? And I'm not going to lie to you. I wouldn't have let him in. I wouldn't have let him in. I don't care. I would have had to go. I ain't got time for no drama like that. I'm so sorry. And I don't know if it's a scripted scene, but I'm telling you, it was peak entertainment. Because I was like, what are you doing here? And number two, shut up. Talking about you came to see me. You ain't come to see me. Boy, stop it. It's so funny. So, Zari is sitting there. She's sitting in a chair. Andile and Diamond are sitting next together. And she's like, let me get you a drink. And so she excuses herself. And Andile decides that in this moment, he wants to share with Diamond that he's interested in the mother of his children, Zari, and that there's some interest there. And Diamond shakes his head and he says, bro, but this is my family. And that is how the season ended. So I finally got through it, y'all. I'm so sorry. Life has been lifing. I am going to pre-record season 2. So at least when I finally get the episodes done, then I can just upload and release them because it was killing me to not be able to record and then also put this review up because I actually did this review last night, but then it was so late, there was no light, and the lighting in my house just was not good. So but thank you so much for rocking with me, everybody who has tuned into my reviews and is taking it back with me to season 1 of YFA. It's been so fun, recapping the season. I'm really excited now to get into season 2 and, see where this storyline goes, what storylines drop off, because, I know that YFA season 1 was a pilot, and now it's in season 3, so it's been successful, and I was super excited when I heard about it, because I knew the artist, I knew Diamond, I knew Zari, I'm trying to see, who else did I know? I didn't know Kanye, and I knew Annie and Two-Face, so I was really excited about it, and it's been very entertaining. So I hope you guys will stick with me through season 2, and I will try to get those up. I'll try at least to get 2 episodes up this weekend, but other than that, please share any thoughts, comments, feedback, suggestions, and I will be back very soon. All right, thank you, y'all. Bye.